3 months after the war ended, the grey cat returned to the broken gate. The man who once fed it never came home. Inside the kitchen, the chair beside the cold stove had not moved. The cat walked to it as if no time had passed. An old neighbor carrying water saw the cat first. She stopped at the gate because the animal looked less lost than everyone else. A chipped bowl waited beneath the table. Dust gathered around it, but the center was clean as if the house had saved one small place. That night, the cat curled beside the cold stove. It chose the same patch of floor it had used before the soldiers came. By morning, people whispered that the house was no longer empty, not because a person had returned, but because the cat had behind the door. The soldier's coat still hung from one nail, one sleeve folded inward like a hand that had never finished waving goodbye. The strange part was not that the cat came home. The strange part was that it knew which corners of the house still hurt. The kitchen window had stayed slightly open since the last letter. The cat slipped through it as if entering a sentence left unfinished. Before the war, the man placed bread on the sill every morning. The cat learned the sound of his boots before it learned his voice. Neighbors remembered the ritual: bread before sunrise, boots near the door, the village bell, and a grey cat waiting without shame. On the last ordinary morning, steam rose from a cup on the table. No one in the room knew it was becoming a memory. The first letter arrived in winter. It said little about fear, but too much about missing the kitchen, the stove, and the cat. Whenever his wife read the letters aloud, the cat hid under the table. It listened from the one place grief could not reach. After the third winter, the woman stopped singing while washing dishes. The cat noticed before the neighbors did. Then came the paper no one wanted to unfold. A man brought it to the door and could not meet the widow's eyes. There was no grave to visit, only a name on a list, a coat behind a door, and a silence too large for one room. That same night, the cat vanished. Some believed it followed the man's scent into roads people were too broken to describe. For months, the house heard only the widow's steps. Then even those became softer, as if she feared disturbing absence. A nurse later remembered a grey cat near the field hospital. It slept beneath a bench where soldiers waited without names. The cat passed boots, wagons, crutches, and men who had come home carrying less than they had taken away. At the station, trains arrived full of men who looked older than their fathers. The cat watched every face and chose none. A child offered milk from a tin cup. The cat drank, then turned back toward the tracks as if the next train still mattered. For one cold week, it slept beneath a broken bridge. River water carried roof tiles, ash, and names no one spoke aloud. On Sundays, people saw it near the church steps. It never entered, only watched the door open and close. Perhaps it followed familiar smells: old wool, coal smoke, wet leather, and the memory of a hand that once fed it. Animals do not explain loyalty. They keep moving until the place inside them becomes a real place again. 3 months after the peace bell, the cat appeared at the gate as if answering a call no one else had heard. When the widow opened the door, the cat looked once at her face, then walked past her toward the coat. There was no cry and no miracle, only a small animal returning to a house that grief had made too quiet. The widow knelt, but did not reach for it. After a long moment, the cat placed one paw on her shoe. Some said the cat came back because animals remember houses. Others said it came back because the man could not. That evening, the widow lit the window lamp for the first time since the telegram. The road outside looked less abandoned. By the second week, the chair beside the stove looked less abandoned, not occupied, exactly warm. Every night, the cat walked the same route: window, stove, coat, bedroom door, and back to the chair. There was one room the widow never entered. The cat entered it every evening without asking permission. On the dresser lay a photograph turned face down. The cat slept beside it without disturbing the frame. Before dawn, small sounds returned: paws on wood, a bowl shifting, the house remembering how to be lived in. One morning, while washing a cup, the widow hummed half a song and stopped, frightened by her own voice. The cat did not move when the song stopped. It stayed at her feet until the silence became less dangerous. After that, the bowl beneath the table was filled every night. Not as habit, as promise. Some houses heal with repairs and visitors. This one healed through fur, breath, and a lamp left burning. Years later, a new family rented the house. They were told very little, except not to move the chair by the stove. The youngest girl noticed the cat first. It sat beneath the window, staring at a room no one had opened. She asked why the cat kept waiting there. The adults said cats do that sometimes, because adults often make mystery smaller. The locked room smelled of cedar, dust, and old wool. When it opened, the cat walked in before anyone else. Inside the trunk were letters tied with faded ribbon, a ration card, and a scarf shaped by someone's neck. Beneath the letters was a photograph of the soldier near the stove in the corner. A grey cat sat by his boots. That night, the girl asked why the cat always looked at the empty chair. No one answered quickly. Some questions enter a room and make every adult remember something at once. This one made the stove seem colder. From then on, the cat slept near the child's bed on the nights when she felt most alone. The cat had not brought the man back. That would have been too simple. And grief is never that merciful. What it brought back was the shape of waiting, the chair, the window, the bowl, and the path from room to room. In the village archive, the soldier's name remained on a brittle page beside hundreds of others. In the margin, someone had written that his wife kept a grey cat. No one explained why that detail mattered. Perhaps it mattered because history remembers battles, but homes remember who waited by the stove. Memory is easier to touch when it has fur, warmth, and the habit of returning at the same hour. At night, the cat still watched the road, not anxiously, patiently, as if patience had become its nature. The girl grew older and left the house, but never forgot the animal that taught her silence could be loyal. After people left, after paint changed, after names disappeared from mailboxes, the house kept the story in small ways. In the final winter, the cat became slower. It still walked to the chair, but now rested before reaching it. Someone placed a blanket beside the stove. The cat accepted it the way old creatures accept kindness, without performance. One evening it walked the old route again. Window, stove, coat, bedroom door, chair. At the chair, it sat very still. The room around it seemed to understand before the people did. After it was gone, no one moved the bowl for several days. Grief had returned, but this time it was shared. They buried it near the broken gate where it had returned years before, under grass that would come back in spring. In spring, grass grew around the gate. The house looked less wounded, though it had not forgotten anything. Maybe cats do not bring back the dead. Maybe they bring back the part of us that still knows how to keep loving. The war took the soldier, but the cat kept returning for the part of him that still lived inside the house. Maybe that is why the village remembered the cat longer than the war. It returned with silence that could finally be shared. At dusk, the chair by the stove no longer looked abandoned. It looked like a place where love had waited and been seen. And when the last light touched the broken gate, the story felt less like an ending than a quiet animal finding its way home.